We are Epic, Epic Alpha, Bravo, and Delta. And don't you forget, Charlie does not exist. My name is acbtheman, and you are listening to Radio Epic.
Episode 18, and just as a heads up, this episode is going to sound a little chopped up and weird. I had bnelly and David Allen 353 along with myself on here, but I completely messed up the audio. My computer was not running on full mode. I didn't have it plugged in, and Audacity crashed, so we lost my audio. So what you're going to hear is little intros by me telling you what David and bnelly are talking about. It's going to sound a little odd, but I was able to salvage a podcast out of it. So here's podcast 18, the weird one, where acbtheman lost his audio. Okay, so the first topic we talked about was you do not have to have your highest gear equipped when you decrypt items. They're just going to decrypt at the highest light level possible, so either at your current highest or what can be better, so you're always going to get better stuff from decrypting engrams.
Yeah, I never had to do that in Destiny 1, so I just basically put on whatever gear I could find. But that is actually something I think to be looking forward to. Just save you a bit of time and effort when you're, doing like a mass just level up.
Yeah, it's definitely a great quality of life improvement, but it also helps new players because the whole idea of while you're decrypting things, you have to stop and think about what combination gets you the highest light levels, swapping exotics in and out to try to maximize your light level is something a lot of people, particularly new players, won't even think about when they pick up the game, and it just slows it down and makes the game less fun for them.
So next we talked about the PC beta, stuff from it, ideas from it, and just PC gaming in general, about how it's going to be different, and the things that we heard about the PC beta that made us either say the PC beta was good or bad or not, and so these are just some ideas on PC gaming and the PC beta.
Yes, but there's also the situation that they're bringing back Destiny 1 exotics into Destiny 2. In a couple of trailers, I think it was the Starfire Protocol and the Hard Light and the the AC/D feedback fence. Yeah, so
Oh, so as in like they're bringing stuff from D1 to D2. Okay. See, I think I misunderstood when you said exotics returning, is they were just like, oh man, they're bringing like having exotics in the game. That's what I was understanding, but I don't like that they're bringing stuff from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2 so much. Especially the exotics, like especially when they're not even the ones that people want. I mean, Hardlight would be fun to play with, but like, really, I don't even know the last time I saw somebody had, feedback fence gauntlets on or whatever. So like, come on, you could at least pick something people want.
right, and they might have completely different perk sets. Like they showed that the Hard Light now is a void weapon, so it's a void energy weapon. So clearly they're tweaking them, but it's just interesting that they brought them back. I think what the motivation would be is they want to have a similar exotic in Destiny 2, so they want to have a Titan exotic that when you get punched, it shocks you back. And rather than making a brand new exotic, they're like, you know what, we'll put a quest in to recover your old feedback fences and not make a new one so people don't accuse them of just copy pasting the perk sets over.
I mean, I guess it just would depend on how they actually end up implementing them in the game. Yeah, I mean, if they're gonna be if their name and maybe look alone, I could see that. But like, if they're the same item, essentially, it's like why? But if they change it, I mean, I think the feedback fence, the idea was always kind of cool. And I like the look of them, but like they need to be something more. And if they can make that in Destiny 2, I'd be okay with it. But like, I don't know. As long as they would be completely different, and like I said, maybe just name and look alone is the only thing that would be similar. You get them like completing through part of the story, and then you never use them again.
Yeah, so if I remember correctly, someone in Poland got shipped out a game. Yeah, so, um, but basically it showed the vault, which has 200 items in it. Either, which, yeah. So I don't recall if that's 200 total items or 200 weapons, 200 armor, but at 200. And the other thing was above it, it had 10 slots, I believe, for engrams. So people are speculating that rather than your engrams taking up an inventory spot, which inevitably means they end up going to Postmaster, you have 10 engram slots to fill up. So it's just a quality of life thing. It also could be something where you do earn rewards to get engrams, but it's just a new screen. No, so I think the point of it is rather than, like, say you have 8 guns on you and you pick up 2 engrams, rather than them filling up those slots, it goes to this other screen that fills up. So basically, you have a separate inventory for your engrams, is what it looks like.
That would make sense. That'd be kind of cool. I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I've seen some PC people who haven't played Destiny streaming it, but I haven't heard much. Bungie did put out a few last updates, and I guess last week's the week at Bungie that we didn't discuss, and it I mean, it's basically a bunch of technical things, like they don't have a certain type of anti-aliasing in the beta. For people with AMD graphics cards, you can't use multiple graphics cards, and other random bugs and incomplete things.
Yeah. I mean, I think also, too, as somebody who plays a lot of PC games, there's a lot of games, like on Steam in particular, where they're like beta games. And so I think PC players more than console players are used to betas and don't expect a beta necessarily to be like polished. It's just a rough, what a beta is. It's just a rough game, trying to see if people like it, if they enjoy the changes that they've made, that kind of stuff. All the stuff a beta is for. With a console, yeah, you get like a beta, but it's very few and far between, like it's big AAA titles and stuff like that. But like on PC, you can go onto Steam and there's got to be probably hundreds of games that are in beta, being put out to beta, or whatever. So like you can always check out something that's coming out. Yeah, and I mean, like I said, PC is a whole different beast compared to a console. So I mean, the minute the game comes out, somebody's probably going to be like, oh, there's a bug here, where on like console you may never have that happen. But yeah, PC is a whole different beast when it comes to games.
Yeah, I remember playing a game that came out in beta 4 or 5 years before it was actually released, and I mean, when it first came out, you literally had to be sitting there with a calculator to know if you like achieved the goals in the game. Like the initial game had like, well, I'm talking about Kerbal Space Program, but it initially had like 4. So I started playing it 3 months after it came out, and like initially you had 4 parts. You couldn't tell if you were in orbit. It wasn't certain if there actually was a planet or you just kept going up. It was pretty rough, but I mean, in the PC community is like, yes, this is obviously in beta. No one should expect this to be a complete game, and now it's a complete yet bug-filled game that had a very controversial development path in its later years. But that's a whole other story.
I know I'm planning on building a gaming PC here in the next like several months. I can tell you, Destiny probably will be a game that I don't like to buy games twice if I can help it, just because it's stupid for me. I might buy Destiny again because, well, and yeah, it looks so good, and it's one of those games where I'm like, I think I'm gonna buy this again because I think it would look so good with the high end graphics cards and stuff out. I actually am just like, that's definitely a game I'm gonna buy right away when I build one. So
Well, surprisingly, Destiny seems like a pretty well optimized game. I mean, the minimum spec. Yeah, I was going to say the recommended specs. I mean, my PC is not the highest end. My CPU is 6 years old, and that was actually the recommended spec. And my graphics card is a $200 to $250 MSRP graphics card, and that met the minimum spec. So, I mean, the recommended spec is probably like a $600 to $800 PC. Yeah, and that's the recommended spec. The minimum is probably like a $300 to $400 PC. It's hard to when you get to the tier that the minimum spec is at. It's hard to price because yeah, I mean the minimum's pretty low. I mean, I'm gonna try the beta on my laptop, which doesn't even have discrete graphics, and see how that goes.
All right, next we talked about the rumor of the raid called the Leviathan, about how there was essentially a giant thing consuming a small moon and how that relates to Star Trek. But we're talking potential raid spoilers or potential ideas for the raid that have leaked, or maybe not there anymore, maybe there, who knows. But they are in our heads.
Yeah. I mean, I also saw that concept art. It's one of the themes on the updated Destiny app. If you go into themes, that concept art is also in there, so it's definitely in the game. It's not like their concept art that they put up for Destiny 1 where there are like random giant toads and stuff running around. Yes, this is definitely something that will be represented in the game. Yeah, one of the curious things is in the Books of Sorrow, before Oryx and her sisters find the worm gods, they meet something called the Leviathan that supposedly dies on Fundament. And so leads to the question, did the Cabal find the Hive homeworld and then resurrect this Leviathan and turn it into a planet-crushing machine? Yeah, so there's a show, I'm looking at the Star Trek wiki, so it's the 6th episode of the 2nd season of the original Star Trek. It's called the Doomsday Machine, and basically the plot is the Enterprise and Captain Kirk finds a wrecked Federation vessel, and they look at the logs and meet the captain, and essentially what happens is they got killed by this giant thing that they call a Doomsday Machine, and it looks almost exactly like the pictures. So it's a giant open mouth with fire inside, trying to consume, in this case, the Enterprise is the picture, but you could easily imagine a small moon right in front of it. And, I mean, it looks pretty similar to the concept art of Leviathan. So it's just kind of a cool thing. It might be somewhere where Bungie got inspiration for the for Star Trek spoilers, if you haven't watched the nearly 50-year-old TV show. Basically, what the way they do it is they take that wrecked ship and blow it up in the mouth of the beast. And so we'll see how we end up defeating it. That's how it beat in Star Trek. It's actually not the concept itself isn't that far-fetched. The kind of self-perpetuating spacecraft, so what it does is it goes through space and it consumes resources and keeps moving onward. So that idea is actually floated around for how humans could end up exploring the galaxy as we send out robots that land on planets, rebuilt, get enough fuel to go to the next one and explore. But this is taking it to an evil level where rather than just exploring, we consume.
Next, we talked about general changes to the game that are just quality of life changes from shaders to where your engrams go.
Basically, I was watching a stream. I forget who. I think it might have been War Console. Basically saying, "Oh, they're ship shaders," which is kind of cool. I'm not sure if they're actually shaders or mods. It'll be interesting if they do something other than look cool. But there's not really too much to talk there. But apparently we can now customize our ships more rather than just choosing the different Lego pieces bolted together with a different coat of paint.
If they're going to do it with weapons, you might as well do it with ships and sparrows and whatever else. Or whatever, hopefully, mode of transportation we have on the surfaces.
Alright, and this next segment is all about trailers, all the character trailers they put out, and what we are hoping for in future trailers before the game comes out.
I mean, it's cool. They're definitely interesting. They're definitely meant to keep the Destiny community happy, but also to bring in new players and also point out that this is a character-driven story. These are people that are important to the story, and try to get people who are buying or getting in Destiny for the first time thinking these are people that I will talk to and I will fight with or against. They also put out another trailer that I forget what it was called, but it was basically the story of Destiny so far, which again seems like it's meant for new players searching on Google, what is Destiny 2? They'll get a video from Bungie saying this is what Destiny 2 is. So it's good that they're doing it. Yeah. The only thing I would miss is I was hoping for another one of the live action trailers, but don't think we're going to get that.
Alright, next we talk about the potential Trials of Osiris exotic. I don't know if it's an exotic or a Trials of Osiris gun, but it was a gun that had the Trials of Osiris aesthetics, and it's just something to talk about before the game comes out. A cool looking gun.
So that's unclear. It was just a clip from either a stream or a trailer. Yeah, but it's it's a glowing gold pulse rifle with the Osiris Scarab logo on it. It doesn't match any of the weapon mods we've seen, so that's why people are speculating that's an exotic. Two interesting things about it. It has 50 shots, which is a lot for a pulse rifle. It shoots 5-round bursts, and hits with it fill up a Scarab meter. And so we don't know what that meter does when it's full. But it could be conceivably something that if you get a bunch of hits, it increases, you get a more powerful burst at the end or whatnot if you fill up that Scarab meter. Which would go hand in hand with having that big magazine to make it so you don't have to constantly reload to make it easier to fill up that meter.
Be an interesting premise. Be cool, though. Like having exotics be more unique.
Next, we talked about the potential third subclasses coming back. They're pretty much the Taken King subclasses, and we pretty much know they're coming back. But they're still technically a rumor, but we talked about them.
Yeah, I think what they're going for was they're like, oh, this is the kind of thing that only the dedicated fans on the internet would find interesting, and gives them a little treat to help to like encourage us to search through the videos for clues. But I think it was too easy to do that because you could just pick it up by watching and be like, oh, that's the void symbol. So it's not exactly... Yeah, I think they missed an opportunity to have a cooler reveal. Lore-wise, with them returning, it's interesting that we have to earn those subclasses back, because the ones we get are derived from the Traveler, yet the Taken King subclasses are supposedly derived from our Inner Light. So it's interesting that we have to earn those back rather than the ones that were from the Traveler. But that's just a digression on lore.
I don't know exactly how they were put out, but maybe it was just, I don't know, it could have been something that they were just be like, hey, we know you want the third class back. Well, this is kind of what you're going to get. So, who knows? But I'll have to go watch the video and see.
Alright, and this last little section was when my computer pooped out, and so I really have no idea what's on it. We have a little bit of an outro, so please listen all the way through. And once again, thank you for listening to Radio Epic, episode number 18.
There's one other trophy or achievement that we didn't talk about was the Lest Ye Be Judged, which is encounter an emissary from beyond, which is the final one on the list, which has the symbol of the 9 on it. So apparently, it seems like the last achievement is going to be meeting the 9, which is kind of a cool thing. Also, apparently, in Italian, emissary is the feminine form of emissary, so apparently it's going to be a female emissary.
Ooh, so maybe we're gonna get like a Zur, but a different kind of Zur.
Yeah, maybe a female Zur, or maybe the Exo Stranger, you never know.
That would be interesting, to say the least. So, we lost ACB.
Yeah, I assume he just wants us to close it out. So I guess we'll just end it. Yeah, I guess just stop recording. Yeah, I think I heard a kid in the background, so maybe his kid came over. You never know though. Alright, I guess we will end it and he'll add an outro. Yep, I guess he'll just cut us off at whatever point and say, okay, that's it. Or include this whole conversation. Yeah, did you listen to the Bungie podcast? There was one of them where they had whatchamacallit, the first like 10 or 15 minutes was them talking about peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And one of them's like, okay, so we gotta erase this, and the other one's like, nope, it's gonna be our intro. And then just cut and then went into the podcast. Hopefully you don't lose it. You'll be recording it again tomorrow. Yeah, and he has about half of it, because he's kind of guiding the discussion, so it's... it's like, so, we have the answers to the questions. We just don't have the questions. So you have to go back and try to figure out what he said in order to add the... I mean, worst case, you can get docked tomorrow and record it without me.